Greetings and salutations, everyone. I got a little quick one here for another 80s horror. Dipped back a few more years there to the 70s for a 1978 little horror Friday here for Dawn of the Dead from filmmaker George Romero, who you may have heard of from a little film called The Amusement Park. Okay, maybe not that one, but I did cover that one a little while back, so I will link to that one at the end. But of course, Night of the Living Dead from 1968. Which kind of brought the idea of zombies, or ghouls as they were more specifically spoken about in that film, kind of to like high popularity, and some would even say that he kind of birthed the genre with that one. But anyways, this one is of course written, directed, and edited by Romero, and the synopsis for Dawn of the Dead is as follows. During an escalating zombie epidemic, two Philadelphia SWAT team members, a traffic reporter and his TV executive girlfriend, seek refuge in a secluded shopping mall. Now, I had dim memories of this, and yeah, I know that is a recurring theme for my channel as I am revisiting some of these older films, but I had dim memories of this and even of that remake from 2004, which I remember liking, and some tiny snippets really were all that I knew from this original one. But other than that, I kind of went in blind with this. I couldn't find it specifically referenced as being a sequel. That's kind of how I took it, that we had Night of the Living Dead happened like the night before, and now this is the Dawn, with the beginning kind of showing us the point of view from a television station reporting on this tragic epidemic as it was unfolding. Arguments on how it should be handled as the situation is getting worse and worse. Warnings, directives, evacuations, exterminations, martial law, society breaking down. For those who haven't seen it, but have seen some newer works such as The Walking Dead, think of ones like Fear the Walking Dead, or the stuff going on while Rick was knocked out, similar to 28 Days Later. What happened before most of where we usually pick up in zombie films takes place. Usually we're kind of thrown into the action or into some small group of people where something happens. This is kind of giving us a bit more about that, the beginning days of that. We get a scary Night of the Living Dead, and now we are on to the Dawn of the Dead. And as I think that many would plan to do, maybe not as much these days with the fall of the modern shopping mall being well underway, characters working their way and holding up in a mall, clearing it out, fortifying it, and waiting for word on what to do next. Word on if the world is regaining some sense of order and safety, or if it's going to survive in general. And of course, like so many zombie-related films and TV shows which came afterward, it isn't just the zombies to worry about, or infections, or other health issues, or resources running low, but people, having to defend this mall against some roaming raiders of sorts, one of which is played by Tom Savini, who also did the special effects for this film, and was one of the few memories that I had of it from way back. But this one was a really great one to revisit, or to even just watch for the first time, because not just because of like the historical standpoint, seeing where so much of what we love about horror, especially the zombie genre, kind of began as it was kind of taking hold and launching us into the next decade, which I know from, my love of horror comes from the 80s, just seeing this kind of build up and launch us right into that. But it also really holds up as just a standalone film on its own. And sure, like any film which takes place, a good while ago, you just need to understand the lack of certain technology being available to the characters, a bit about how the world was back then. But with all that in mind, this one has some really great action going on as well. First off, from the attacks from the zombies throughout, or the raid in the mall, we have some really well executed scenes unfolding and stunts being performed. And of course, second, those effects. They do not hold back in this one. It seems like there were times where they just thought, I wonder if we could pull off an effect like this. And once they showed that they could, they found a way to work it in. So we had a lot of cool stuff happening in general, and then these little bits of really cool scenarios that they set up, which are really executed very well. We also have with this the dramatic side of things. Initially the idea of having a place like this mall to kind of hole up in for a while is great. Having the safety, supplies, and so on. And as some of you may remember from the height of the pandemic, having it not just be advised, but being best to just stay put, it can take its toll after a while. Characters getting moody, really going stir crazy, and so on. It was interesting to kind of see that side of these characters slowly deteriorating along the way. All in all, Honestly, the only thing that I didn't really care for with this film was the length, because I was apparently watching the extended cut, which runs 2 hours and 19 minutes. Now, while that's only, I think, 13 minutes longer than the theatrical cut, roughly, and which may be part of the reason why some of those gore scenes were a little bit more than I expected. They didn't have as much trimmed off of it. I felt like it did run a little bit long. You know, my sweet spot for horror, especially stuff from the 80s and earlier, is that 80 to 95 minute mark. You know, so this surpassed that, you know, in the theatrical, and even more so in this extended cut. It felt kind of like I was watching 3 or 4 episodes of a TV show kind of stitched together, both in length and in that pacing, kind of going a little bit all over the place. But I will say, if you enjoyed the original Night of the Living Dead but never really followed up on any of Romero's other films, definitely check this one out, as with this historical side kind of coming into play, along with this interesting flashback story of the early days of a zombie epidemic, rather than being thrown right into the middle so much, or even, you know, getting away from this idea of just one small group and getting to see a little bit more, you know, with the change from the studio reporting to this outside trip, to gathering resources, to finding their way to this mall to kind of hunker down in. There's a lot of cool action and gore thrown on top of it, which definitely makes it more than worth checking out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out my latest quick video here for Dawn of the Dead from 1978, which at the time of this video is available on paid rental on Amazon. But check out that Just Watch app every now and then, because it might, you know, end up popping up on some other service someday soon. This one does make me want to revisit Day of the Dead as well. I haven't seen that in a long time, and Land of the Dead. Not to mention catch up on some of the installments that I never saw, such as Diary of the Dead and Survival of the Dead, and to revisit the remake. So, you know, maybe I'll put up some videos about those as well, so be sure to subscribe and be on the lookout for those in the coming months. Anyways, that's all I've got for this one. Thanks for coming by and sticking around to the end. I have 2 links coming up shortly. One for that really old video of mine for the amusement park, one that was just kind of in recent years kind of found, put back together and released, one of Romero's early films, and another one for the Elvira's Movie Macabre edition of hosting Night of the Living Dead. That's from a little bit over a year ago. So be sure to check those out. Be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.